Good evening, everybody. How is everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, I won't have an echo all night. I feel like I've been trying to address that the last couple of minutes. It's not been working. So, welcome to Case by Case. I'm Amy. We have Cherie with us tonight, and obviously, a very special guest, Toby Garth, is going to be here, and we're going to be discussing a lot of different things. As most of you know who follow my channel, I have been working on Ashley Garth's case for about a year now. And this is the first time that Toby's ever spoken publicly about the case, Ashley. And so I hope everybody can be respectful and listen to all of the things that we're going to talk about. And if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, please do. That helps support the channel. And for those of you listening on the replay, please do the same. Don't hesitate to ask any questions in the chat. I do have quite a few moderators tonight who will be making sure that nobody gets stupid. You won't stay in the chat very long. And we kind of have a little guide tonight of how we're going to talk about all of the things that we're going to talk about. And the mods that are in here, if you could keep an eye on on the good questions that come in that you think that Toby could answer, but kind of wait until I ask for them that way, because he's never done a live before. That way he doesn't get discombobulated trying to work the phone and read the chat and answer the questions. So we'll go on for a little while, and then I'll let you guys pop in the questions, and we'll answer some of those, and then we'll move on. Oh, thanks, Jinx. Yes, my daughter's having a baby girl, so I'm really excited. So we found out yesterday, so that was good news. So let's say hello to people in the chat right now. We've got hello, Tanya, Kathy, Jennifer, Jinx, Delbell, TLS, Susanna, Inexplicable Susan, Dawn. Welcome, everybody. So, Toby, if you want to unmute your mic,
hello.
Say hello. Chelsea's in here.
Yes. Love you, sis.
So, Chelsea, under your scars.
I was just looking at Tanya's phone, seeing everybody that was here. Welcome and thank you. And I hope I don't sound too backwards.
No, you're going to be just fine. So, obviously, for those of you who are here, you probably know that Toby's Ashley's dad. And I wanted Toby to kind of tell us a little bit about himself. We've been hearing all about Ashley now for a year, but tell us where you grew up, Toby.
Well, right here, right in Delphi, block away from the grain elevator. In the fall of the year, our street was lined up with all the farmers, bringing in the grain, so that's that's been from my upbringing till now. That's what I've done, agricultural work in either the elevator or a retail application. That's what a better part of my life. All ag related, and I had regular upbringing. A lot of old friends still live here. See a lot of old friends when they come through. People we grew up with.
Yeah, that's just when I was there. Delphi is really an actually really pretty place. It really is.
It has been a lot of changes over the years. The grain elevators in town are no longer there, and um, the McDonald's sits there now. But
Mhm.
things change over the years, and um, when I was married to Ashley's mother, we had a little house, and that's where all the girls were brought home. Um,
All at the same house? All three girls were born at the same they were all born and brought home to the same home?
Absolutely, all in the same house, um, the blue house,
Yeah.
just a
Tell
little
us,
bitty house.
tell us
They
about the girls.
they were average pains in the butt, you know. And just from the time they were little, they were always pains in the butt. But I never had sisters, so I didn't know what they were like. Um, but Ashley and I are both middles. I have two brothers, one older, one younger, and she has an older sister and one younger. Um, Chelsea is the youngest. I have them in my phone as number one, two, and three, although I'm not going to get any calls from number two.
Mhm.
That phone's long gone.
So,
But
I thought it was really interesting to tell us about so I know you and Lori, the girls' mother, you guys, are now divorced, and she's married to Kevin, but, I find it really awesome, the family relationship that you guys have. Lori and, your wife now, they're, like, very good friends, they have coffee almost every day.
yeah, we were, and I'm sorry we didn't make it. Yesterday, we were both invited to my brother's and to Kevin and Lori's for ribs, and it was a toss up. They all do good ribs, but I ate so much of my brother's that I was foundered after that, and we didn't go any farther. So I apologize to Kevin and Lori that we didn't make it out.
Well, I'm sure they understood. But I do think that, when I found out that Lori and Tanya do coffee every day, I was like, "That is really not the norm, but that's awesome."
Well, Tanya crashed her car, because she was over at Lori's having coffee.
So,
So,
let's talk about you raising Ashley and, her growing up. Was she a good kid, a bad kid? What was she like raising, as far as, being the middle daughter?
well, all three girls were different, but in the fact that they all played soccer, but then Chantel kind of she didn't want to do it anymore, and Chelsea didn't follow through. But Ashley even played soccer in high school, just for and Delphi didn't have a very big soccer team, so everybody got to play. But um, she she was on the soccer team, but then she had to have some corrective surgery from having been born with a cleft lip that she was knocked out of two
Mhm.
seasons. So, so sports really wasn't
Oh,
the
really?
thing. But um, and well, in middle school, she was on the girls' basketball team, uh, and she swam on the swim team. But really wasn't her big thing. But um, she became in love with riding motorcycles and three wheelers and going to the river.
Yeah, she had mentioned that she calls herself a river rat, I guess,
We are
at one point
river.
in time you had You have a boat, and you guys would all go out on the boat.
Yeah, well, right now there's 2 boats on sitting on the property waiting for spring.
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely river rats, and you know, out in the barn is 3 4-wheelers, and another shed's got motorcycles, and actually I'm sitting beside what will be Ashley's motorcycle, my street bike that I've had for longer than I've had kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that
So,
became
sorry,
that
go ahead.
became our life. That motorcycles, going to Supercross, Red Bud, you know, all of the motorsports. But one thing I tell you about Ashley, she can go to sleep at any racetrack in the world. I've seen it. She's
Fallen
slept
asleep
in
at the
some
racetrack?
tracks. Yeah, during the race, she fell asleep at the Indy 500 one time in the rain.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh.
she can fall asleep at any track.
So,
Those,
tell us about Chevy, when she had Chevy.
well, Chevy Ashley was with a good friend of ours still now, Jay, and they lived in Colburn. And she went to church every Sunday. Um, it was put uh, pretty much the American dream. 2 kids had this child, um, and everything was going good. She had her job. Jay had his job. They were making money in that. Well, actually, Jay worked with me for a long time, and and he moved on to other jobs. But yeah, it was a good existence. It was a good life. But for whatever reason, Ash and Jay just they couldn't stay together. We all have our falling
Mhm.
outs. Um, yeah, and Chevy wasn't my first grandson, but he was one of many that I loved just the same. Um, he was what, third? He was or second, third. I got to look at Tanya when it comes to birth dates with the grandkids to make sure I'm on the right date. She says that Chev was the second, um, and like any other grandchild, I was there and uh, rocked him for a while when he first was born. I remember the only thing he actually wanted was a pizza. After when she came out of the delivery, that's all she wanted was a pizza. So, and Chev's grown into
Just a
a
pizza?
well, yeah, that's all she wanted was a pizza. Well, it just so happened that day she didn't get much to eat, and after the delivery, she was wanting a pizza. So dad had to go to Pizza Hut down the road and bring her back pizza. That was
And
a long time ago, it seems.
mhm. And I know I just from talking with, all the conversations that I've had with Ma'am, she's described Ashley as a hell of a worker. Like, Ashley is a great worker.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That it doesn't matter. I say something about, well, it looks like the flower beds need weeded. Well, I'll do it, Dad. Uh, and next thing you know, she's out there crawling around in the flower bed or
Mhm.
planting a tree.
And
But
I mean,
yeah,
I know that this has been really hard on you, hasn't it?
well, yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to think it would be just as hard on any other father.
Mhm.
Yeah, any other would. when I don't. You'd have to be a monster not to care about anyone close to you, for that matter.
Mhm. So, when 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 you first met Garrett, what was your impression of Garrett?
Well, I tried not to make impressions of any of the guys that come around with three daughters. There'd been some good ones, there'd been some bad ones, and it seemed like it was always the good ones, or the good ones that didn't stick around, and the bad ones were were hanging around. But I tried not to make any decisions. You know, let it play out, see how it goes. And but then Garrett didn't come around. You know, they'd go off somewhere else. It wasn't. I don't know, very small handful of times that they were hanging out here together. You know, didn't ride four wheelers with us. Didn't uh, sit around a bonfire. You know, nothing like that ever happened. And that's the kind of thing that Ashley and all of her friends before would do. We'd have a big old fire out back on a Saturday after tearing up the yard on four wheelers all day. But
Mhm.
when she got with Garrett, that didn't happen.
Now, she knew Garrett years prior to them dating, correct?
Well, in, as a crow's flies, it's about 2 miles across the river where he grew up. So there's so many people, you know, everybody across the river from us over here. It comes to Bend. There's a lot of good friends over there, and uh, they all knew Garrett because it's a small community, and especially if you had horses, you knew who Garrett was because his grandparents have always been in with horses. So horse
Mhm.
people know horse people. So you know
Right, had
and Ashley because it's about 15 minutes to drive around to go across the river right where we live. She used to swim across all the time and hang out with her friends and that kind of thing. And Garrett's family, his dad lived down there, and actually Talitha did at one time, but I never knew her.
Mhm. So did you, what I know that we've talked about this before. Um, yeah, Jinx, I don't have another tab open. I don't know why all of a sudden I've got this echo going on. I apologize. Maybe
It,
here.
it's not me and my Bluetooth speaker, is it?
That it could be.
Is it something I could do?
Um, turn it down.
I turned it down quite a bit. Is it any better?
Um, yeah, I think it is better now. That's what it was.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, my
Oh, that's okay.
my
Hi,
hillbilly
Sparky.
regular is not quite so technological.
Well, as far as Garrett goes, I know that we've talked about this before, and um, when things started getting bad between Ashley and Garrett, and she would come to you, I think a lot of people want to know about some of the things she was going through with him.
Well, she would blow off. You know, you knew there was something wrong, but she would blow it off. You know, she would say, "Oh, everything will be all right, Daddy. Don't worry about it, Daddy. I'll take care of it, Daddy."
Hmm.
You know, and
It,
so she would tell us things, but then she, you know, and sometimes I didn't. I didn't see physical evidence. I didn't. So I was just wondering if she was, you know, being a little dramatic.
Mhm.
And of course she'd say, "Well, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Things will be okay." You know, I I don't know if I should say this, but if I would have followed my instincts and put an arrow in his eye on one particular night, nobody would be dead and she wouldn't be there. And I will never
Okay.
make that mistake again.
So when you so she would I mean, would she tell you about the abuse?
Um, well, she just said like, well, Garrett and I got into it. Well, and when you say get into it, what does that, fists or kicking or strangulation? Have you really don't have a lot of, well, yeah, or it could have been just a slap. I don't
Mhm.
know. But and then of course she would assure me that it'll be okay. It'll be all right. I'll take care of it.
So when Kevin got the phone call in January and, was heading to the house the same time the police were heading there, because Kevin I believe if I remember correctly, Kevin said at first the police weren't initially going to go because they said they were too busy to take the call, and Kevin let them know that he was on his way to the property, with a shotgun, and so they ended up meeting him there. Were you contacted that day when, all of that happened, at the home where Ashley was living that belonged to Kevin and Lori? Oh, did we lose Toby? I think we might have just lost Toby. He'll come back in. So, in the meantime, here, let's, we have any questions? Oh, there he is. We lost you there for a second.
Yes, I don't know what happened. It said error, error. And all I could think of is danger, Will Robinson. Uh, you you were referring to um, the call that Kevin got from the police that Garrett was there. That's another. The call that Kevin got, I called him because
Okay.
I went there. And
Okay, you did go. Okay.
when I was standing in the living room and I wasn't having a good conversation with Ashley at the time, that's when he came in the back door. And I felt it better to leave and not end up in jail.
So you're talking about when Garrett broke the restraining order.
Yes.
I'm
Uh,
talking about I'm talking about did you get the call when he strangled her unconscious?
um. Oh yeah, and I didn't get that call. I was unaware until after the fact.
Okay.
And and yeah, again, she assured me that she would take care that everything's going to be okay. She's going to get away from him, um, all that kind of thing. She didn't want to be around him, and um, yeah, she was saying, she was done.
Mhm. Now
And
when you seen her after that, was she in pretty bad shape?
well, yeah, she like she'd been roughed up pretty good, absolutely. You know, the strangulation didn't leave a lot of. Um, I don't know if he used a towel or what it was, but there wasn't a lot of ligature marks on her neck. It was red. of course, and yeah, she had some bruising on I believe it was her right cheek, which is
Mhm.
kind of uncommon for girls to get bruising on their right cheek unless the person's left-handed, which that, that's neither here or there.
Well,
But she,
I don't know if I do believe that Garrett is right-handed because I paid attention when he signed, some paperwork in his interrogation videos, but it was his left arm that he used on Nicole. That was the arm
you
that was all bruised.
unless he would have given her a backhand, I guess that would have put the bruising on on her right cheeks. But um, yeah, it was yeah, Dad. She were moving her stuff to her grandmother's, and she was gonna not be around him anymore, and um, that's when
And that's
she.
and you that's when you were there when he came in the door?
Yeah, yeah, when he broke the restraining order, and I was there to help her get the rest of that stuff out,
Mhm.
rest of her belongings, and um, well, she wasn't ready, and I'm not going to do it all. You be ready when I get there, So I was mad at her for that. And, I wasn't going to help pack, yada yada. I was being an asshole dad, but and then he come walking out. I said, "Whoa, wait, what? I went and got in the truck. And I called Kevin immediately, and left the scene because I didn't want to go to jail.
And then
And
I
I'm
know
gonna,
Kevin came,
yeah, yeah.
and
And
so I know
Kevin came, and the police came again, but yeah, what good that did.
did you wanna talk about I know that you had told me that I believe you had told me at one time you had confronted Nick McClelland about the charges that he dropped?
Well, I asked him about it, and he said, "Well, that she had enough going on. That was how I blew it off. It was about that short."
Now you grew up with you knew him pretty well, didn't you? You grew up with him?
Nick McClelland, no, he is
Yeah.
younger. Um, he's got his uncles and father are all older, and so I'm kind of was in the middle. Not as young as Nick, but not as old as his uncles and his father. But you live in Delphi, everybody knows McClelland's. Every one of them, past and present.
Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, I don't know. The rumor mill is rampant, so some people have good things to say about him, some people don't.
Honestly, without the only thing I have is that the case was dismissed without an explanation. It was done.
Now, do you know if Garrett's family were friends with the McClellands?
Garrett's dad might have had some uh, dealings in farming with the boys. They used to farm a whole lot of acres, and the boys used to always they were drinkers. Most of them are gone now, but yeah, they're a bunch of hellions. So it wouldn't surprise me if Garrett's dad had worked with some of them. They did have a pretty big farm. When I was 14 years old, I detasseled
Mhm.
corn in their fields. Not that I had a
Um,
relationship with any McClellan.
Well, Garrett has alluded to the fact that the cases were dropped. Both cases were dropped, the strangulation case and they didn't even charge him with the violation of the restraining order. They only charged him with invasion of privacy. And, Garrett said that they were dropped because, uh, Nick's dad or grandpa or somebody was friends with his father, and they had farmed together was exactly what he said.
Yeah, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but I speculated that one of the things would be that the Delphi girls was still, that all that was going on and unsolved and no end in sight. Figured that overshadowed. It was something easy that they could throw out of the way.
Mhm.
Apparently, it was.
Right. So
Now, Garrett was pretty rude when asked about the strangulation and the invasion of privacy. He said they were dismissed, weren't they? He was very rude in the way he answered Ashley's lawyer, which I don't know. He has no respect for anything.
right, well, when we go to cover the trial, everyone's gonna get to see the transcripts and how he behaved and the fact it was really a detriment to Ashley, that case being dismissed because it allowed him to go on the stand and talk like that. Well, it was dismissed. I didn't. It was, and the prosecutor kept saying, "Well, it's an alleged. It's alleged." So, um, that whole thing. It's pretty shocking when you see it play out on paper, how it was handled, and the fact that if Garrett, and this is another thing that I never understood with those charges. He's got the felony 6 strangulation case. Toby, you might have to turn that speaker down even more. You've got the felony 6 strangulation case. Then he, breaks the restraining order. The strangulation case was January 21st. He's in jail for 2 weeks, and this is really important for the timeline of events. So he's in jail for 2 weeks. He gets out and he's begins dating Nicole, and that's pretty evident with the Facebook posts and the Facebook pages and all of that stuff that was going on. And then he breaks the restraining order on February 28th. He's out the same day. His dad or his someone in his family bonded him out the same day. So he's now walking around with 2 pending charges. On March 13th, that is the date that they believe that he killed Ray Hainish. He's arrested on the 14th in Tippecanoe County. And there was paraphernalia, there was meth, there was a scale, and he's driving a vehicle that doesn't belong to him. And again, he's allowed to bail out before going before a judge that same night. Now, see where I'm from, that would never happen. I mean, as close as all of those counties are, I mean, it's really like an hour or so in between. With that many pending charges and him being out on bond, they would have held him if he would have lived here. That's what I'm used to. I mean, when I worked for the police department, we used to send transport orders, because another county would call us and say, "Hey, we have so and so in custody. We see you guys have a warrant or he's out on bond. Do you want him?" So he got out 3 different times in a matter of a month and a half and had taken the life of Ray, and then 16 later took the life of Nicole. And it's horrible to think that nobody will ever take responsibility for that as far as, he is a 10-time criminal. I mean, he's an habitual offender, and how they just kept letting him out, I do not understand. So, that's really been frustrating to learn. And but what I was saying about that time frame, Toby, was Ashley was moving out, moving in with Ma'am, and the entire month of February, he is with Nicole. Nicole was with him at Ray's house, and Ray's body is found on the 17th. It is the weekend of the 24th of March that the Indiana State Police show up looking for Garrett, and I believe they came to your home. Um, and that's when Garrett showed up the next day because Ashley had reached out to him for them because they were looking for him. And that's when he beat her up and put her back. He put her in the hospital on the 25th. So this timeline of where the prosecutor in Ashley's case got that there was this conspiracy that had been going on with Jason Palladino for months, it's not even fathomable based on the timeline. Garrett is in jail. He's with Nicole. It's never I can't find anywhere in this timeline to fit in Ashley being over at Palladino's.
No, I know she was not because I know the week, oh, I would say week and a half that Ashley had been spending a lot of time here at home with me, and Tanya, and over at Mim's with Chev and Mim. She was back and forth. Come over here in the afternoons, early evenings, and hang out for a while, and then go back home. You know, and
So
I
yeah,
do remember her getting so mad about her finding his. Uh, I don't know what you call it, the plenty of fish kind of thing. Uh, no, yeah, the app where he was looking for companionship with homosexual men,
mhm,
and oh, she's so mad about that. It was like everybody knew she was mad that he was doing that. He was that away. She was done with him forever and ever, and don't ever call. And and yeah, I remember it was a Saturday, I believe. The state police were here, and I asked Ashley what was going on, and she said something. They were asking where Garrett was and something he had done, and she had no idea because she hadn't been with him.
right. And I think too, I believe this is my personal opinion. I believe that when the police came there and she reached out, you know, she's told them, I can try to get him on Facebook because he had taken her phone. And she didn't even have a phone at that point in time because he had taken it when he ran from the police on January 21st. And that was the phone that they found at Ray's. But I know it was about that time that Ashley started putting things on Facebook in regards to his sexuality, saying, "See, I told you guys." And I remember me and Ma'am had this conversation because I guess Ashley had told Ma'am about the stuff that she had found, and Ma'am was like, "I just couldn't believe it." She was like, and I think Garrett he over what's the word I'm looking for? Like overdid it with the masculinity, the cowboy and all of the, he wanted everybody to believe that he was this tough kid. And that's another thing that we'll talk about later is the fact that, all of these rumors and whatnot about all of these connections and people, I think, forget that at the time that Garrett was arrested for Nicole, he was only 21 years old. So a lot of the people that they try to affiliate him with, I just don't know because of the age difference and the areas and stuff. Garrett never had a car. Am I right?
No, he didn't. He never had a car. He didn't even have a driver's license.
So yeah, I mean, so when you so I know that when so Ashley, I know that ma'am knew something was going on, and ma'am couldn't reach her that week. So we're going to fast forward to when you got the call from Ashley after Nicole.
Oh, yeah. Fast forward a quick minute. Um, I was having a beer with one of my buddies and well, brothers, I will say. Um, and I get a message from a phone I'd never seen before, and of course we had heard on the news that there was a body found Newton County, which is what 3, 4 counties away from here, which it doesn't. Well, probably nobody we know. No, you wouldn't have any idea that far away there would be something um, that anybody would be involved with. So anyway, um, she calls me and I remember what she said. Garrett did something bad, but she would never say what it was. Just Garrett did something bad, and I said, "How bad?" And she said, "Real, real bad." And I said, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but if he did something real, real bad, you need to go to the police." I said, "I don't know where you are." And then she said, "I'll call you back." And well, then she hung up. Well, then I got text message, and she didn't ever tell me where she was or who she was with, and her last message was that, "Daddy, I'm going to the police." And that was when she went to Lafayette or West Lafayette. Well, I think it was Lafayette Police Department.
Mhm.
That was our last communication.
So how did you find out?
Um, no, I had a bout with cellulitis in one of my feet, and so I wasn't working, and I was at home, and the news at noon comes on, and there's Ashley, there's Garrett, there's Nicole, or not Nicole, uh, Ashley and Garrett, Jasmine, Chris Mathis, and Talitha, or not Talitha. They were all on there on the news. And actually, about an hour or two later, um, Nicole's uncle, whom I had worked with previously, and he, him and his wife and daughter came to talk to me, and I felt that it was a good conversation, and I didn't feel like they thought that Ashley did anything. You know, they they knew who Ashley was, and um, we had interaction as families before.
Now
So
This is Nicole's uncle, you said?
yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes, and we had a good conversation, and it was like our hearts were sunk. What do you do? How do you talk to people? How do you what do you know? There's not a manual for any of that.
Right. So,
That
I mean, so just the accusations, like, around that time, the accusations about Ash, and I mean, I'll let you I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that know Ashley, and they all have the same, opinion of her and her personality and what a heartfelt person she is. What is your take on Ashley when it comes to being put in a position like that? Um,
everything you see in the interrogation videos, that's Ashley. Those are real tears. That's her crying for help. That's that's who she is. She revels in the fact that no matter how big she gets, she can always sit on dad's lap.
Mhm. Yeah, I know it's tough. It's tough. It's been tough covering this case because, in a situation like this, I mean, I knew going into this that I was going to get a lot of backlash from people, especially everything that has been put out there. And the main reason I reached out was because of the silence. I think from all of you, I just didn't understand the story in the trailer, and there being 5 people, and um, you never heard anybody say anything about, nobody spoke out on Ashley's behalf. So that's why I reached out. And over the last year, I mean, I talk with Ashley I talk to her almost every single day. And, you know, she calls me every day. It's a clockwork at 11 o'clock on my break while I'm at work. We have a 20-minute phone call. And Carol, there was, and I can discuss that a little bit later, but yes, there was. Um, and you know, the personality that I have got, the personality that she has, she's very emotional. She's very heartfelt, very sentimental about a lot of things. When she talks about her family, it's gut wrenching because it brings her to tears, the things that she misses. Um, she called me the other day upset because something happened at Chevy's school that really upset her. And, you know, um, I know that when it comes to animals and being affectionate, that's Ashley. And I see her freezing in a moment like that, not knowing what to do. I don't see her having the ability to act, especially under the circumstances and the fear that I know that when she's seen Talitha and Nicole walk in the door, I know that she at that moment thought she was being set up to be hurt,
Yeah,
not
I have
anticipating
no doubt.
what they had in mind.
After I got to visit with her the first time, when after she had been arrested, and had to go to Newton County, and they're not really the most congenial people up there. But that she she was telling me that oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought. My mind's going a million directions. Oh,
Fine.
and I'm sorry, I was
It's okay. You're
reading
fine.
the yeah, I don't even know where I was going.
You were talking about when you went and visited her the first time.
Yeah, and she was telling me that um, she thought that she was the one that was going to go that night. That they were all there because Nicole and Talitha were friends, and Garrett was in the mix of that. She didn't know the other people. She was the outcast of the band, and um, maybe it was because they needed her
No,
for
she
other reasons.
absolutely was.
To take the fall.
Yeah, she absolutely was. Mhm. I agree. I absolutely agree. So, I know that a lot of people, really, if you don't mind, we can maybe answer some questions before we go on. If there's anybody in the chat that has some questions for Toby.
One of the early ones was from Jennifer. She wanted to know, how did Ashley meet Garrett? Was it at school or just out somewhere?
She was just out somewhere. Mutual friends. I I think it was in the time when she was visiting some her buddies that lived down the road in the trailer park. on Hodges Drive, or not Hodges Drive, but Sleepy Hollow Road, which is connected to Hodges Drive.
And just to clarify, the one thing that I've learned about Ashley is a true-hearted tomboy.
Oh, most assuredly.
And she said that the majority of her friends were guys growing up.
Absolutely. Oh, it's yeah, and every one of them were we, and that's what I really liked about some of the guys, that were never love interests, but we were out here turning wrenches and getting some stupid machine to run and tear up the yard.
Yeah, and I know that she had stated that Garrett had tried to isolate her from all of her friends.
And he did. Everyone.
That's you hear that, or I hear that a lot when there's abuse like that. They try to isolate the victim.
Basically, when Ashley was with Garrett, the only time we saw her as if Christmas, Chevy's birthday, we get together as a family. But there had to be a reason for us all to get together. It was the only time we would really see Ashley. I think Garrett would be standing in the corner, kind of lurking, smoking a cigarette. It was just thought of it creeps me out.
That sounds exactly like the situation my sister was in. Just
he
the
would never
isolation.
say anything.
He would never speak.
No, like I said, he was always off to the side, just kind of lurking. That's the way I always felt about him, anyway.
So I know a lot of people wonder why you've not spoken out before now about, um, I'm sure a lot of different things. Do you want to talk about your interaction with social media or the lack thereof?
Lack thereof, and when Ashley was first arrested, the hardest thing to get done was to shut her Facebook off. It was very diligent, and me being basically technologically inept, through help of my good friend Anna and uh, Ashley's cousin Allie. Between the two of them, they were able to figure out how to get it shut down. And there were so many negative comments from people that didn't know her, didn't know her from Adam, but they still wanted to crucify. And so, um, in a conversation with my good friend, we kind of made a pact that we wouldn't pay attention to social media or YouTubers or podcasts or anything like that, and that would help our lives be a little more normal. And for the most part, it did. Ignorance is bliss. The things that people will say hiding behind a computer screen or a keyboard is unfathomable. It's sometimes just some of the biggest bunch of malarkey you ever heard. But
I know it's been hard for me to present some things to you that I felt that needed to be addressed to benefit Ashley, and I have felt so bad having to share certain things with you that you didn't know, and I mean, you didn't know. And I think that people think that your silence has been to hide or to not address it, and that's not really the case at all. But
Well, my early interaction with social media in that regard was negative, so I didn't see a need in um, participating until it could be positive. And I think what everything is conspired with you and everyone else involved, everyone else in the chat, a lot of support, a lot of people on the Facebook. Um, we've turned this into positive energy, and not something to turn to my stomach.
mhm. Yeah, because I I think a lot of people think that you guys reached out to me. I know that I've been accused of that, and I don't think that they. I
Because
don't think that people. I
one
don't think people
contributor,
realize how I was scrutinized at first.
one contributor said bamboozled, which yeah, uh, if we bamboozled you, I think it'd be more the other way around.
Right. Yeah, because
um,
I reached out to Ashley, and I think it took several months before I could even get you on the phone.
yeah, I wasn't going to listen to the pod or the YouTubers podcasts and that. Why would I want to talk to one?
Right.
No,
Yeah, but you
yeah,
guys, I mean,
I think you've done a wonderful job at presenting everything honestly, straightforward, with facts. As a lot of them I've seen, they're just rambling in their corner, hoping somebody's going to listen.
well, I've I've done a lot of work on this case as far as collecting information, and I'm it's just been really mind-boggling how much was there that was never used. And every and the more I went on, every single thing that Ashley told me, I was able to go find it. And I'm like, "Wait a minute. We never heard about any of this. We never heard about Ashley being in the hospital on that Monday. We never heard about her being left at Jasmine's all day and all through the evening. We never heard about any of that." Um, Jason Palladino pulling a gun on Garrett. The Jeff Sneath situation where Jeff pulled the gun on Garrett when Ashley reached out for help. There's so many things that I just couldn't believe it. TLS is asking if Mr. Garth testified for Ashley.
Testified in a sense I did speak in the trial after closing arguments, or whatever you call them. I, I did address some things. Um, at, at one point there was a plea bargain, and they gave victim impact statements, and the the fellow that I worked with previously had said something about, this is just so hard to wrap your head around. And I used the same line. I looked at the family and I said, it's so hard to wrap your head around because that's not Ashley. But everything I said seemed to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, there wasn't. Her attorney did not put a defense on at all. Um, so Ashley got before the trial, Ashley got out on bond. You want to
Yeah.
talk about that time?
Well, I'm still paying on it. I'll own that bond for too long. But yeah, it was a great time for all of us. We were able to bring Ashley home, and she was so happy. And at the time we were able to um, hit the river, uh, go camping. Uh, she went. She decided to go to beauty school. My only daughter, they can change the spark plugs and anything, went to beauty school. But she went all the way through. I think she had to do some before she was convicted. I think she had to do some more clinical work or hands-on, whatever it was, to get her license. But she was able to finish where she's at or where she was at Rockville. She was able to finish, and she has proper credentials to curl your hair or whatever. Um, she can still change spark plugs. Um, yeah, she.
How was she, like, how was she emotionally as far as I think the impression that I get from her was at that time, she knew she hadn't done anything. She knew that she hadn't helped in any way. So I don't think that she ever really thought that she was ever going to be convicted.
No, and none of us did. None of us really did. And the some of the things that her lawyer would say is that, oh, this is going to be dismissed. You know, it's going to be all right. I strongly believe she's innocent. And well, it didn't really work out that way. But,
So
um,
when
thank
she
you,
was
Mother.
found,
I just saw Mother Dragon's post. I have to say thank you.
yes.
Yeah, it changed all of our lives. You know, Lori and Kevin's and mine and Tanya's and Mam's most definitely.
Yeah, I
Chevy's
know ma'am's taken this really
100%.
hard too.
You know, if Ashley were to be exonerated, released, or be able to come home, I know that she will be with Mam until the the very end. And she wouldn't be anywhere else. Mam and Chef. You know, that she Mam needs help, and um, she's already vowed that she's going to do that. Everything's been really hard.
I know it has.
Been a big
And I
adjustment.
know and Ashley fears that as well. She fears not being able to be home with ma'am. You know, ma'am is, for those of you who are in the chat who don't know, ma'am is Ashley's grandmother who has her son. And she's, how old is ma'am? She's in her 80s, correct?
84. She
You would,
her birthday will be April 20th, and I've always made the joke that April 20th is the birthday of a tyrannical dictator and Hitler,
oh no.
because it is Hitler's birthday, but it's been a good joke for a long time.
Well, I speak just from my interaction with ma'am. She's a wonderful woman, and I enjoyed the weekend that I spent with her, and you would never believe that she's 84.
Oh yeah, she gets around. She definitely
She
gets
does.
around. Um, she enjoyed ribs last night. Um, I don't know if uh, she stayed for my brothers for the whole football game because we I got ate so much I had to go home. But she had a very good time. You know, she likes to socialize.
So, do you when during the week of the trial, I know there's been some accusations made about Ashley's behavior at the trial, that she was rude or, um, not sympathetic to the situation. I wasn't there, but I know you were.
I have been to every court hearing Ashley had in 5 counties. Um, no, I don't want to make it sound like we just went from courthouse to courthouse, but um, anytime she's ever had a traffic ticket or any kind of appearance, and especially every time at Newton County, I was there. There was not one time, as one contributor said, where you didn't see it because you weren't there. No, that wasn't the case. I was there. I was there for every ounce of everything that she had gone through, and Kevin and I even stood up when she got her final sentence. We stood with her every day of court. Every time we went to the courthouse, Ashley would sit in the truck until I walked around to the side for her to get out, and I escorted her into the door, and we would go straight to the courtroom, which is a very narrow staircase to a fairly narrow hall, to the courtroom, and escort her to her seat and sit down. When the court was adjourned every day, we stood and waited for every one of Nicole's family to exit the room, and then we followed behind. If anyone wants to accuse her of pushing through the family, they're flat lying. They're flat lying. If she pushed anything through, I pushed, because I escorted her in and out every day. There was never a time when she tried to storm out of the courtroom because she was pissed off. I know for a fact I gave her the instructions, Kevin gave her the instructions, that when we go into the courtroom, you do not look to the left. You walk straight ahead and look at the judge's bench and nothing else. And that's exactly what she did every day, in respect to them, because we knew that there was somebody going to say, well, she did this or she did that. But she did not act the fool, not once. And Mel Roberts got proof of that. If she doesn't want to stop talking the shit, I will talk the shit. I'm sorry, I got carried away.
That's
Excuse
okay.
me.
That's okay. This is your platform tonight. You get to have your say tonight. So,
You know,
during the course of the trial, was there ever a time where you felt that it was turning bad for Ashley?
there were a lot of small things that I would thought. There was at one time the judge looked at Garinsky and said, "Are you okay with that?" I don't even remember what the situation was, but I thought, who's the referee here, and who's calling the shots? So that kind of rubbed me wrong, and then of course, I didn't know anything about DNA, so I didn't know any different. The small amounts that it was, I did note that Ashley's amount was a lot less than Garrett's, but I I was like most everyone I've talked to about DNA, that I thought it was black or white, and I found that very recently it's not at all, not near black and white.
No, it's not.
Thanks
So,
to Doctor And that spelled out a lot. And I have preached about DNA to anybody that'll listen.
Yeah, and that DNA is definitely going to be a big deal going forward in her pursuit for being adjudicated in this. That definitely is going to be a huge factor in all of this. And I'm grateful that Dr. Silkman was able to come on and explain it.
Yes, absolutely. Before that, I was ignorant about DNA. They don't talk enough about it on the television programs. They just say the DNA results say, yeah, it was yours.
So let's see, we can see if we have any questions in the chat.
Sure.
Carol asked earlier about lie detector, whether it was used in the investigation.
Yes, there was, and I'm going to get into that extensively when we go over Ashley's trial. Hey, Toby, do me a favor and mute your mic for a second. There we go. It just helps with the echo. But there was a lie detector test eventually given, but I'm pretty sure that you guys will see it the same way that I have. So there was a lot of wrangling with the plea deals that were being offered in this case. And there were a lot of, I call them shady antics on the prosecutor's part. And I've followed and, covered, I worked on a lot of wrongful conviction cases behind the scenes and know the things that can be done in a trial to manipulate the way that things are perceived. But for example, Ashley had to be given, they wanted Ashley to to do a deposition in order to accept her plea deal. And before doing the deposition, they made her sign what they call a proffer letter, which basically the proffer letter is a promise to whatever they're asking of her. And what they were asking of her was to basically repeat in the deposition the word for word what she had stated in her interrogation video. So you guys will find when we start to go over all of the court documents and transcripts and the deposition, we're going to read the deposition and you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. Where they're trying to throw a wrench in what she's saying and they're calling her a liar, but she's saying exactly what she stated in her interrogation video as to what happened. So then he threatens her with, well, then it looks like we're going to have to do a lie detector test. So they scheduled her for this lie detector test. And this is how the line of questioning went. I'm just going to give you one example in her lie detector test, so you guys can understand the entrapment that she was being placed in. They asked her, was Nicole alive or dead when you tied the scarf around her neck? Well, that is not a yes or no answer. That is when Ashley basically went off and said, I didn't tie anything around her neck. And how do you expect me to answer this? This ended up being a horrific experience for Ashley. Ashley's attorney had to interrupt the lie detector test. I believe it was a couple of times. It was being videotaped, and they came. And Ashley has never seen the results of the test. And they told Lori, and I hope that I'm saying this right. They told her that she failed a question. She failed the question when she was asked, has Garrett ever said he wanted to kill anyone? And Ashley had answered yes to that, and they and I guess after it was all over, she said, yes, he said that he wanted to kill a lot of people all the time. But like everybody else who heard Garrett talk off the cuff, no one ever believed that he actually would do it. But that is pretty much how the lie detector test went. And if I remember, and if I'm wrong, I'll correct it down the road. But if I'm wrong, but I do believe that it was the state who asked for that lie detector test to not be discussed at trial. So that's the story on the lie detector test. And I don't believe the results were ever given to Ashley's attorney. And then they pulled the plea. Then they wanted to charge her with manslaughter and have her plead to the accidental death of Nicole, and Ashley said absolutely freaking not. So I do believe that they knew that the DNA was the DNA was flimsy, and the way it was presented at trial was I have that whole lab analysis report. And when you take it and you put it side by side with the lab tech who testified, he read word for word the analysis report, not the PCR, they didn't present the true DNA at the trial. They presented the analysis. And instead of, Ashley's attorney never even hired, and she had the ability to. It would have been paid for by the state because she was a public defender. She could have hired a DNA expert to come in and argue, and she didn't. She allowed him to basically read this report and let the jury figure it out on their own what it meant. Well, what it really meant was that there were 4 different DNA on the scarf, and I believe there were 3 on the cardboard. And the DNA, 2 of them were unknown DNA, and Ashley had similar, only 29 times similar to those other unidentified DNAs and Garrett. And when you get into DNA and you get into dealing with alleles, I believe everybody has 13 alleles. Everybody does. And then when you break it down by race, so you take the white race or the African American race, everybody within their own race has similar alleles. So Ashley might have only had one allele that was similar to the 2 unidentified DNA swabs that they got, and then also with Garrett. So the odds are, if we can get our hands on the actual PCR test that was done, it may even come back that it's not Ashley's DNA is not on that scarf at all, because it's not even a full DNA. Her full DNA panel is not on the scarf. Garrett's is. That's why Garrett's is, what is it? What was it, 18 trillion, something to that effect, more times than the other 3 DNA that were on the scarf. So if we get our hands on that report, we are definitely going to have Dr. Silkman look at it, and he will come back on. He's very familiar with those types of reports, and he's familiar with the analysis that they did too. And that's why he was pretty upset at the fact that they used an analysis system versus the actual PCR report at the trial. So I don't know if we lost Toby again or not. He'll come back in if we lost him.
Yeah, his icon or whatever is still there.
I'm here. I had you muted.
Okay.
So
So
yeah, I had to turn on some heat in here for a minute, which is quite loud. So I'm here. I saw a question about, is Ashley's son doing fine? And Well, he does really well. He's very, very intelligent. Um, he's about to be taller than Grandpa, which I'm not too fond of. But uh, yeah, he's on the swim team. He's a sixth grader on a swim team. A typical kid plays the video games. He's when he plays, he's got his headset on, and for the most part, he's adapting really well for living with his great grandmother. So, yeah,
And
he's fine.
TLS, he does get to see mom. And in fact, Ashley just completed a program um, where she's at, where now he will, her son will actually get to come in on the weekends. And I forget the name of the program that she just completed. What's the name of it?
Uh, I don't think she ever told me.
It's called, well, she's on the phone. Ashley listens to all the lives. Um, it's called Family Preservation, and he'll get to come in and hang out with her on the weekend, and they'll get to, do mom and kid stuff. She said they have the old types of gaming systems. They have a Wii system there. So she had to complete the course. And I when does that start? It starts next month. So yes, that was a good question, TLS. He does get to see mom a lot. Um, so do you is there anything okay, is there anything that you want to say as far before I get into some of the rumor mills and things that I know that we had talked about that you're going to address? But is there anything else that you want to say or talk about?
Oh, well, I would like to express, and I didn't get it done, but to express who Ashley is. Um, we have had a cozy coop since my girls were small. They had a cozy coop, and the cozy coop would be in the driveway, in the yard, on its side, at the top of the slide, all kinds of places over the years. And even after we moved in the house that we're in now, we still have a cozy coop. It's not the same one, but we have a cozy coop. And right now, I think the cozy coop is on its side in the front yard. But
What is
next week,
I'm sorry, Toby, I'm sorry. What is a cozy coop?
oh, a little Tykes car. They're orange and yellow for
Okay.
little children.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I thought everybody in the world knew what a cozy coop was. Sorry, Amy.
Oh, no, I didn't. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Children's car, pedal power like Fred Flintstone. But she
Okay.
wrote a poem, and I'm sorry I didn't get it transcribed, and I'm not going to try and touch my phone because I'll mess it up. Um, but she wrote a poem about the cozy coop. You know, is here I am in the winter under the snowdrift, but the kids will be back. Yeah, I can't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's
Thought I
okay.
could do better. And I wish I had. I wish I had it, but that's who she is. Writes a poem about a plastic car. You
Mhm.
know, is not the monster, not a mastermind, not a conspirator, um, not not anything but a daughter and a mom and a sister and a granddaughter and an aunt. That's all she is. Uh,
And I don't think that people realize the toll that this has taken on her, um, the guilt that Ashley carries for not being able to have the courage to step in and help Nicole. Um, and this is a prime example. And Ashley, I'm going to tell on you. I'm sorry, but I put money on her account, and especially when we know that we're going to do a live, I will say, put some extra on there because she likes to call and listen. And um, on the weekends, we try to set up a certain time that she calls. Well, she kept calling me yesterday, and I wasn't answering. I'm like, we're going to save the money that we've got on here for Monday night. And so I knew something was going on. So I answered, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I just need to talk to you." And I said, "What's?" And she's crying, and I'm like, "What's wrong?" And on Friday, we had talked about some things about the case, and oh no, I'm sorry. It was Saturday. We had 2 video visits back to back, and I was able to show her some of the exhibits from the trial so we could discuss them, and I always take notes when we talk. So when she called me yesterday, she was crying because she said, "I just all of that was triggering, and the thought of Nicole and what happened, it's gut-wrenching, and the guilt she feels, the PTSD that she's had over this, the nightmares that, she's dealt with this, um, a lot, and I want Nicole's family to know that Ashley does not feel anything but remorse and guilt for what happened to Nicole. And we're not doing what we're doing here to put any kind of detriment to Nicole's memory or take away the fact that Nicole is a victim. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. And I truly believe that Talitha Beckley should be in prison for the rest of her life, simply because I believe the whole situation was planned and organized by Jason and Talitha and Garrett. And if I can prove it, I'm going to. But that is who Ashley is. Like, she can be such a blubbery mess at times over things that, and sometimes when I'm talking, I know that she's lived through this, so I'm not thinking like, um, sometimes about the questions that I ask or showing her something. I'm thinking that because she's been there in this trial before, that this is not new to her, but it's like reliving it all over again, and it affects her badly. Emotionally, it affects her. Yes, guys, if you guys could hit that like button for me, that would be great. So Toby, have you ever had talks with Ashley about those things?
No, not really. Um, it, we spent a lot of time on the river when she was out on the bond, and we always tried to not be there because we were somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And feelings isn't something I've always been able to talk about. My one feeling sometimes comes out, sometimes more often than it should. But it's not something we really talked about. Just because we were enjoying the time, the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Well,
what we
you
would
having emotions is
talk.
absolutely normal. It's understandable.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard. There's sometimes we talk about and that I've not ever expressed. You know, hug your kids.
Now, say that again.
Hug your
Say that
kids.
again.
Hug your kids.
Yeah.
You know that. You know, you never know when the last time you'll be able to do it. No matter who they are, hug them. And I get to hug her when I visit. Get to hug her when I get there. I get to hug her when I leave. But it's not the same. It's just not the same.
Right. So do we have any more chat or any more questions in the chat?
Somebody asked if it's
somebody
hard
did
to
ask.
get into business. Did you hear me?
No, I didn't.
Somebody asked if it's hard to get in to visit.
Oh well, you have to be approved by the state. That's gonna be a tricky part for some people. For some reason or another, Tanya's been denied every time she's applied. But myself and me, we had to have had a notarized paperwork, and you know, they just don't let you show up at the door and say, "Hey, I want to see her today." Doesn't work that much way.
I know Susanna's in the chat, and Susanna goes and visits Ashley. And I've been to visit Ashley. It took me about 3 months to get approved. And I think that was because I'm out of state. And it's really hard to get a hold of anybody in the prison who actually handles things. So like the visitation guy who handles all of the paperwork and stuff for the visitation, you get his number, but when you call him, you call him, he tells you flat out on his answering machine that you have to go through the inmate to get answers. So she then has to communicate through him to give me answers. So once I was approved, and I scheduled when I went down to visit her, I had scheduled her online, and because I'm from out of state, I get 2 hours. So I scheduled a visit for Saturday, and they let you do it back to back if you're out of state. So I scheduled a visit for Saturday and Sunday. Well, when I got there on Saturday, they wouldn't let me in. Her counselor had screwed up the paperwork, and they only had me down on Sunday for 1 hour. And luckily, the guard that was working at the front desk, I explained to her, I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And she said, "You come back tomorrow and I'll get you your 2 hours." And she did.
I will say my encounters with the people at the front desk when I've gone there have been more than accommodating. It's a very nice young man and a nice young woman. Um, Very accommodating. Got me in without a lot of hassle. Um, and that's where she's at now. The other place, a couple times, they look at my ID and look at me like, is this even you? You know, give you a lot of grief that way and make you wait. Well, I don't see you on the list, but then I'd show them my phone, and they said, well, you don't need a phone in here, so that knocked me out for another half hour. So uh, it's not easy to see an inmate, not at all. Who is TLS? Yes, Ashley gets to see a therapist. I think they call it a counselor. She gets to see someone that helps her with PTSD and her emotional distress. Yeah. So she has some support inside. So it helps her quite a bit.
She has taken she's taken classes. Uh, they're called diabolical health classes, and she's been able to raise her mental health. You get rated when you're in the prison, and when she did have a lot of issues with PTSD, a lot of night terrors. That was going on before the trial even happened. Ma'am had discussed that with me extensively about Ashley waking up in the middle of the night screaming, um, and the emotional effect that it had taken on her. Oh, dialectical behavioral therapy. Yes, yes, Dee. Um, but she's been able to raise her status in the prison 3 levels. So she's doing very well. She's taken a lot of classes. Did I say diabolical, Amy? Yes, I did. Dialecticable, dialectical. Yeah, it does sound better than diabolical, doesn't it? But she is doing well. Like Toby said, she did get her degree for doing hair. She works in the rec center. She runs the rec center every day,
Did you
and
say
she
she
also
did get? Did she get to finish her?
yes, she did.
Oh wow, nice.
Yep, she's taken some. I think it's some science technical classes. She's taken quite a few classes, and she still does hair. She does hair all the time in the prison.
Nice. I mean,
So,
under the circumstances, that's a good thing.
yeah.
Now, if I can get her home to change the spark plugs, that would be all good.
Okay, well, let's switch gears a little, and talk about a couple of these rumors that have circulated for an ungodly amount of time. And, yeah. So it's been rumored for, years since I followed the case, which has been, right before I believe right before the trial started. But, and that is this whole Gabe Ellis and Derek German situation, and people thinking that where you worked had that you gave permission or turned a blind eye to those two who broke into a facility that your company, it's a location of your company. But so I have on the screen here where Toby actually works, and he's worked at this location for 20 years. It's in Lafayette off of 625. When Derek German and Gabe Ellis were arrested, this was first of all, let's talk about the dates here. This was clear back in 2008. So in 2008, Ashley was a freshman in high school. Derek German was born in 1977 and Gabe Ellis was born in 1976, making both of these two men 15 years older than Ashley. She does not know them and doesn't know anything about them. And, like all the rumors surrounding the Delphi case, this is one that it was very easy to put this rumor to rest. And Gabe Ellis and Derek German broke into a location on South Prince William Road, which is not where Toby works. So, Toby, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. That location is a sister location. Um, I have honestly no working knowledge of the Anheuser facility. Um, I could figure it out because I've been in this business for a long time, but I wouldn't even know to begin to tell them where they could get it, or even that I would, especially in 2008. I want to divulge something about me because it's made me who I am. In early 2000s, I believe 2002, I was I was incarcerated for a possession of methamphetamine, but I had no interaction with anyone that was manufacturing from that location when in 2002 and in 2003 I did not drink, I did not smoke, did not, and I carried that on for 15 years. Now I will admit I do drink uh, quite a few beers now and again, but as far as uh, that lifestyle, that scene, that craziness, lunacy, I left that behind in 2002 because the state of Indiana helped me with that. And so I would not condone, nor would I help anyone in the theft of anheuser. When I was graced with my current job in, uh, I want to say it was 2004, I was entrusted to go around every day and gather up all of the paraphernalia that the thieves would leave. And we did that for a long time. I did not ever give any to anyone or allow anyone to get any. Um, really thought it was funny that some of these individuals was messing with something that could kill them. As far as the Delphi plant on 850, never had anything to do with them ever being there. I still have a very very limited uh, association with that location.
Now, when this happened, did you hear about it?
No, not at all. Not whatsoever. Um, the store I work at today and have always worked at didn't really talk with what was going on at the other facility. It's like two separate stores, two separate McDonald's. You know,
Mhm.
the McDonald's in Monticello doesn't have any idea what the girl in the drive-through at the McDonald's at Delphi is is pretty much what was like. So no, we didn't have any idea that anything happened over there. I
So
know
when
who
I
Garrett Sherman is, but uh, I know the family. I know who he is. I know his father, his uh, aunts, cousins, uncles. They're a very very large family, and we are in a small community. So yes, I know who he is, but nor did I ever have any interactions with him ever.
so well, I
So
and I
and
so
Gabe
was
Ellis, I didn't know that name till you told me that name. Well, no, a month ago, 2 months ago, if that long. Never
mhm.
heard it.
And I just felt that it was important to put this rumor to rest because your name was thrown in it, and then of course Ashley has her name's been thrown around with all these people, like she ran with them, or um, and it's there's when you look at first of all when you look at when this actually happened, that's not ever talked about. It's talked about that it did happen, but not actually when it happened. And when you look at the location and then you look at the year, you're like, wait a minute, Ashley was just a freshman in high school. You know, this stuff has just ran rampant and it needs to I'm addressing it ineffects of Ashley just simply because I feel that it needs to be done and it can be done. And people can either listen or they can continue to spread the ridiculous rumors. But it doesn't take hard work to actually look into something and get the facts.
You know, I strongly believe that Ashley could not pick Derek German out of the lineup. You know, if I don't think she has a clue.
Yeah. And I know that people are probably wanting to know, about the atmosphere in Delphi right now and everything that's going on with that case. And, of course, it really did affect Ashley's case. Is there anything that you want to address about that at all?
Um, there's a lot of theories. A lot, very tragic situation, but I know that Ashley had nothing to do with anything with those two girls, nothing at all, and nor any knowledge. She's not a part of some Kokomo ring, that has been said she was a part of. It's all preposterous, and that, unfortunately for you that do the YouTubes, it gives them a black eye. They're spewing this stuff, but then people want to hear it. I don't get it myself. Uh, let's stick to the facts, the truth, and honesty. No matter how much it hurts. There's a lot of people out there that if I'm sorry I said if when Ashley will be exonerated, they will be very sorry they said the things they said. Yeah, I'm sure of it.
And has there been any talk in the area that you live about, the tide changing or people learning about Ashley's case and seeing it in a different light now?
There's a lot more supporters. I hope that Nicole's family kind of take a look at the evidence, at the facts, and I'm sorry for their loss. There's nothing I can say that will ever bring that girl back. I'm sorry for that. But look at the evidence, not just what Drzezinski said, not just that narrative. Look, open your mind up a little bit. Don't you really want to know what happened to that girl, or you just say, "Oh, fine, there two people are in jail. That's good enough." That was Drzezinski's point of view, in my opinion. But just look at the evidence. Don't listen to naysayers. Open-minded, please. Everyone, be open-minded and just look at what is presented before you. Amy, you've done a wonderful job at presenting things
And I've
in a great way.
thank you. And I've said it numerous times. I don't fault Nicole's family for believing that Ashley was guilty based on how the evidence in the trial was presented. But that is what that is one thing about working on this side of the fence with wrongful convictions, that there are wrongful convictions that happen and are overturned every day. And there's a reason for that. And when you look at this specific case, the narrative is not a clear-cut narrative. What we started out with in opening statements isn't what we ended up with in closing arguments. And I know whether anybody who has listened to this channel or not will ever admit it, but what I have presented, and I've provided facts in the case, documentation, interviews, photographs, trial transcripts, interrogation videos. When I've presented it all, I know people have to be scratching their head going, "This is not what we learned at the trial." And you have to ask yourself why. There's a I don't necessarily have the answer other than the fact that Garrett taking a plea deal wasn't good enough, and Ashley was thrown under the bus by Garrett because at that point in time, he knew Ashley was done with him, and I believe his anger towards her for the things that she had put on Facebook, her going in and telling the police what, he had done. I mean, it took her a minute, but and I'm not gonna defend that she lied because she did, but I understand. And I run into it every single time I get in contact with somebody that has information. They literally I've had so many people contact me about Ashley's case with information, and unless I can verify it or prove it, I really don't discuss it. Um, but every single person that has contacted me that has shed a different amount of information, once they realize that what they're telling me could come out in the public's eye, they shut down out of fear. They do not want to be a target of the Paladinos. And if I didn't respect my sources and, I would show the things that I've been sent. But every single thing that I have been sent, it all proves, the fear that Ashley had was real fear. And I do not believe with Talitha Beckley. I'm going to be posting another thumbnail probably today or tomorrow or Tuesday. But I'm going to be talking about another case next Saturday that I believe that Talitha could possibly be attached to. And that came to me out of left field. I had no idea. I was reached out to with information, and I have a couple of great people that, I work a full time job. I have a couple of great people like Dee, Shadow, Cherie helps me a lot. Rhonda, who's not here tonight, but Shadow and Dee they've done a lot of helping me. Um, Shadow messages me every single morning. What am I working on today? And we've put together quite a lot of information. And it's been, and I guess you can probably tell that over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of slowed down with my lives a little bit because we've been researching. I don't want to come on here and throw anybody's name out there and throw them under the bus if I don't have accurate information, because that's exactly what was done to Ashley. And that's exactly what's done in most cases where somebody was wrongfully convicted. Um, and whether people, want to agree to it or not, this case was heavily covered in social media and being sensationalized with the Delphi case made it 100 times worse. Nobody had ever heard of Ashley Garth prior to Garrett being arrested for Nicole. Ashley didn't have any kind of a history of being a bad girl or in trouble. She never had a felony, none of that. Um, so I will be covering a night, Saturday night actually, and I will have another guest on to discuss that case and how I got connected to that case. Didn't come from Ashley. Ashley doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. And we're going to spend several hours. It's a case that is still open, and hopefully, her being, this family member coming on, hopefully, will re-spark some interest in that case. But Talitha, there's several things that have been brought to my attention that Talitha has taken credit for, or situations that Talitha has admitted being a part of that prove exactly what I'm saying about Talitha. And to me, that letter that I read when I covered Talitha's interrogation video, that letter to me spells it all out there. That Garrett was ordered by Jason Palladino to give Nicole a hot shot. Talitha made sure she got rid of her phone and her tablet before she turned herself in. And that is exactly based on the evidence, based on that night, based on the phone calls Ashley was making, trying to figure out where the hell he was. Was he coming back to get her because she didn't know what was going on? Every dot connects in this case to Ashley being innocent. Every dot does. And then once we got the exhibits and the DNA report that was used, that was the over the top. That was the over. I'll tell you what. That was the over the top for Travis, who's helped me and Cherie and Rhonda on this case a lot. He knew the uphill. I'm not an attorney. Travis knew the uphill battle that we were looking at because a lot of the evidence in this case is circumstantial. But that DNA report really set off alarm bells with him. And hopefully, here very, very soon, there's going to be a huge change in Ashley's case status. That is definitely in the works. And I don't say that as in possibly, I'm telling you that it's being worked on as we speak. So I just hope that everybody continues to support Ashley, this channel, because I feel this channel, I don't do things like everybody else does, I guess. I don't just throw out there. I spend a lot of time organizing and putting things together and making sure that my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. I've spent my own money requesting a lot of documents. Cherie's helped with that quite a bit. I've traveled. I've reached out to some pretty scary people, and I've shown my face. And I knew I would get backlash, and I wouldn't have done that if I didn't believe in what I was doing. Ashley Garth was not somebody that I think anybody, if you listened to all of the case coverage like I have, I don't think, well, I am the only one who just thought something was off. But Ashley, because of this and because of Delphi, Ashley's not been given a great reputation. So I knew the first time I ever came on here and said, I believe Ashley Garth is innocent, I knew I was going to be, um, disliked, and, people would have a lot of shit talking. And that was fine. But I can't for the life of me sit here knowing what I know and the hard work that I put into all of this and the stacks of papers and folders that I have sitting here next to me and the relationship that I've built with Ash and the relationship that I've built with her family. I can't walk away, and I won't walk away until I'm told there's nothing else that can be done. So that's where I'm at on this. And I hope and I appreciate you guys continue to support, and I appreciate those of you who have come in. I know there's been a handful of you who came in with a negative opinion of what I was doing, with disbelief in what I was saying, and have since said, "Oh my God, I think you're right." So that means a lot to me. It means a lot to Ashley.
Did you see that TLS asked how does she get it back in this case back into court?
How do we get it back? Well, we have some things going on right now behind the scenes. There are a handful of people looking at her case, and we should be getting an answer hopefully soon. However, Ashley is in post-conviction relief status right now. which means her original attorney filed her direct appeal. And if you are familiar with trials and the ins and outs of trials versus appeals versus post-conviction relief, an appeal is normally not filed by your original trial attorney for the simple fact that in direct appeals there's usually a claim of ineffective assistance of counsel. So the original trial attorney will usually recuse themselves at that point to allow another attorney to come in, look over what happened in the trial before filing the appeal. And if there's any areas of ineffective assistance of counsel, that if those issues can be raised, it's not going to be raised by the original trial attorney. And unfortunately for Ashley, Ashley didn't know any better. Lori James, once again, should have known. But when you're talking ineffective assistance of counsel, you're talking about not properly preparing um, for the case. You're talking about failing to investigate, failing to hire a DNA expert, failing to call witnesses, failing to interview witnesses. That a lot of those things did not happen in Ashley's case. So the direct appeal was filed by Ashley's attorney, and of course it was denied. There was no ineffective assistance of counsel raised. There was no misconduct on the prosecutor's part raised. There was no exculpatory evidence issues raised, and there's all of those things in this case. So we are now in post-conviction relief, which means what went on in the trial. It's like a frame. I always describe it like a picture frame, and the trial being within that frame. The post-conviction relief is limited to those elements. The ineffective assistance of counsel, the lack of investigating exculpatory evidence, misconduct on the prosecutor's part, failing to interview witnesses, and of course, failing to hire an expert. And we need an expert to represent Ashley's defense and explain how what the prosecution presented at trial was wrong. And hopefully, with the more interest in this case that we can raise, the more evidence that most attorneys, you have attorneys who deal with post conviction relief, and then you have attorneys that do not. And so what happens is you have an attorney who will take on the post conviction relief filing, and if they're granted either a new trial or an evidentiary hearing, once we get to that point, then a new attorney will step in because the post-conviction relief filing is done. So I have faith in the people who are putting their eyes on this case right now, and I have faith that Durinsky is no longer the prosecutor in Newton County. The assistant prosecutor who helped Durinsky on the prosecution of Ashley is now the prosecutor. But things like this can take years. Getting it before the judge, Ashley's side will file, and then we have to wait on a response from the state, and then we have to wait on the decision from the judge. And if the judge denies, then we have to take it above that judge's court to a higher judge. And then usually what will happen is that the higher court will kick it back to the lower court and basically give them instructions on what they want to see happen. And then the process starts all over again. I'm hoping that road isn't as long as I know that it can be, but that's what we're up against. And public support right now is what we need. The truth to come out and for people to change the narrative in a positive light. And not only will that be justice for Ashley, but it will also be true justice for Nicole, because Ashley did not do this. Somebody else helped Garrett do all of this. And that is Talitha Beckley. And whether or not Talitha is going to play a role in this time around in the court system, it doesn't matter. There was no conspiracy at all. Ashley did not conspire with Jason Palladino. She wasn't over there. And Nicole was living on that property. Nicole was dating Garrett. Talitha was dating Jason. And Talitha was also having an intimate relationship with Garrett. There's no explanation at all to say Ashley would ever be on that property with all of them there. It wasn't Jason's drug affiliation was not Ashley's. And the fact that Garrett and Nicole were arrested together, and if Nicole agreed to roll on Jason Palladino, that was the motive. And Ashley didn't know anything about it. She had nothing to do with it. So that's where the case is right now. And you guys will be the first to know when word comes out that something something is moving in her case. And we still have on here her whole entire trial to cover. I think that's going to be really important for all of you guys to see exactly what went down in that courtroom. And the trial transcripts are going to show you the behavior of the defense attorney. It's going to show you the behavior of Garrett and the lies, starting all the way back in his very first interrogation video. So all of that is still coming. I've had to piecemeal the trial transcripts to get them, based on affordability and based on, I had to pay for the interrogation videos. So I've piecemealed the important parts of the trial. And then I was able to get all of the exhibits. It was like 136 exhibits, I believe. And I am down to 3 different sections of the trial. And one of those is opening arguments. So I do have the paperwork on the appeals. I do have correspondence between Ashley and her defense attorney that we're going to go over as well, because I feel that's important to show. And yes, IV push, that is absolutely right. Hi, Tim. Tim spent some time with Ashley while Ashley was out on bond. The FNAF fans rule from chat. And him and Ashley took Chevy on a really nice vacation before her trial. So Ashley could spend some quality time with Chevy. So Tim, I plan to have him on here at some point as well, along with Ma'am and hopefully Kevin, Ashley's stepfather. And I just can't express enough the dynamics of the family, and me getting to know them and the close knit. I mean, when I went there and spent the weekend with Ma'am and we were all together, you would never. I didn't come from a family where when my parents got divorced, they could be in the same room together. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that this family is structured the way that it is, and how protective over everybody in the family that Ma'am is. She is such a wonderful person, and she gave me an angel when I left that day, and I keep it on my nightstand, and I cherish it. So they're just good people, and I've been I've been hurt now that I've gotten to know them all and I've gotten to know Ashley, seeing some of the things that have been said that are just one outright lies and uncalled for, and how it I can't imagine being in their shoes. I can't. And living in that community where everybody knows everybody, and if you happen to be at the same restaurant at the same time and the restaurant's robbed, God forbid, you will all be in on it if you listen to how the rumor mill in that area works. And people need to stop doing that. Um, the Delphi case is right now, it's really turned into um, a sad situation. And the families, my heart goes out to them. I hope one day the girls get justice. And what that looks like right now, I don't know. So I'm off my soapbox. So Toby, if you want to speak back up, feel free. Yes, Ivy Push, you're correct. The pathologist that testified in Ashley's case testified. I believe he testified from an airport or the actual airplane. And Ashley's attorney didn't have one question for him. So you're right about that. So go ahead, Toby. Do you have anything that you want to finish out with tonight? I think you're muted.
Is he still in here? I can't see him, but I don't know if that.
He unmuted himself.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Can you hear me?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Yeah, I can now. Yes, there you are.
Well, I was trying to eliminate the echo thing. I just want to thank everyone, friends and family, everyone in the chat, everyone that wants to support Ashley and believes that she is innocent. And like you said so many times, anyone that ever knew Ashley or talked to Ashley knows that the monster that's been portrayed is not her. The stories are not her. It is just not possible. She has too much heart. I just want to thank everyone, all the support in any way that anyone can give is much more appreciated than anyone will ever know. I just have so much gratitude for everyone. Thank you. I think that's about all I got.
I'm going to post the link for Ashley's Facebook group. And I will begin to add more information especially now that we're going to get to the trial phase of all of this. I will be uploading a lot of docs and things in that Facebook page. And if you are in the Facebook page, with respect, I'm not going to deal with it, and the admins in that group are not going to deal with slide remarks. If you have a legit question, ask it or private message it. But we will answer anything and everything. I will explain anything and everything. But I've included the link for Ashley's Facebook page right there in the chat. I would love for you to join us. I think we're upwards almost to 100 people now, and it's a good place where I can update. And like I said, I'm going to be adding more information. And feel free to create a discussion in there. And I know that there's a lot of you who are a part of other groups involving the Delphi case, and a lot of the people in those groups at one time or another followed this case. And if you know of anybody who you think might be interested in following this, invite them. So that's all I've got for tonight. And Toby, I think you did wonderful. I know you were nervous about all of this.
Thank you very much. My speech teacher from high school would have been very proud. Yes.
So guys,
yes,
I
was
think
very nervous.
Toby,
Go ahead, Amy.
Toby, stay on here with me. Thank you,
Okay.
Jinx. Yeah, stay on here with me and Cherie. Cherie, do you have anything before we go?
Well, I'm grateful for Toby for sharing with us and helping us see like what he and his family have been through. He did a good job.
Thank you, Cherie.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you please hit that like button and subscribe before you go out. And hopefully I'll see you guys all next Saturday with another case that's it's going to be a one-time thing that we discuss it. But I think it's, if you're interested, please, it's still an open case. And maybe if you share it, maybe we can get some help in that case for that family as well. So I will see everyone later. Thank you for coming in tonight.
Good night.